Hello AP Stats students. I'm Aloysius Altarejos and I'm about to teach you the rules of probability. Now, since probability seems to be a very challenging concept for most of AP Stats students, it is a good idea to master the basic rules of it. Let's get started, shall we? Our first rule is that for any event A, the probability of that event happening is between 0 and 1. You can't have a negative probability in the real world, and you can't have a 101% chance of something happening in the real world. Now, the second rule is that if S is the sample space in a probability model, then it must be equal to 1. If you don't know, sample space is just the possible outcomes of one or more events summed together. For example, if we know every outcome and possibility of those outcomes of a specific event, like rock, paper, and scissors, the sum of those probabilities should all equal to 1. Now, in the case of equally likely outcomes, the probability of event A happening should be equal to the number of outcomes event A is fulfilled divided by the number of total outcomes. There are many examples of this, like a random number generator or a coin flip. Let's look at a dice, for example. The probability of getting an even number die is how many outcome an even number die will show up, which is 3 divided by all the outcomes of throwing a die, which is 6. This will give us 3 out of 6 or 0.5, which means that there is a 50% chance that we roll an even number die. Now, the general addition rule says that the probability of event A or B happening is equal to the probability of event A plus the probability of event B minus the probability of event A and B happening. Now, the probability of event A and the addition of the probability of event B is self-explanatory, right? We want those two included, but we subtract the probability of event A and B happening because we don't want double counts. Now, it's pretty hard to imagine that, so the best way to visualize it is by using a Venn diagram. As you can see here in the lighter circle, we have a 0.7. This represents the probability of event A happening. And then in the darker circle, we have 0.5, which is the representation for the probability of event B happening. Now, if we add these two together, it's breaking the first rule that we ever discussed, that for any event A, the probability of event A should be between 0 and 1. So this can't happen. Now, this is why we have a subtraction of both events happening simultaneously. Now, keep in mind, this 0.1 is important and it will play a part later. Now, there's a much more simpler version of the general addition rule, which is that if event A and event B are mutually exclusive, meaning that one doesn't affect the other or both are independent from each other, the probability of event A or B will just equal to the probability of event A plus the probability of event B. You don't have to subtract anything because there will be no overlap. Now we have a rule called the complement rule. It has this little c as an exponent in the notation. And to find this, we just set 1 minus the probability of something we're trying to find, in this case A. This just means that the probability of event A not happening. To visualize this, we need to go in our Venn diagram. Remember these two circles? This represents the probability of event A or B happening. Well, this one right here, this means that the probability of event A or B not happening. To find this, we just need to subtract 0.3 from both sides, or I guess from both circles in this case. This is going to be 0.4 plus 0.3 plus 0.2 equals 0.9. 1 minus 0.9 is equal to 0.1. That's how we find it. Now, our next topic is the multiplication rule of probability. This rule is used for finding the probability of event A and B when it's not given using the formula right here. The probability of event A and B is equal to the probability of event A times the probability of B given A. Now, the second use of this rule is to find how much one event will affect the other event, like using our formula here. The probability of B given A is equal to the probability of A and B divided by the probability of A. Now, you can see that these two formulas are correlated since just by using algebra, dividing or multiplying probability of A will get you the other formula. Now, the conditional probability, the one right here, is very helpful in table scenarios like this because we can just find it. The probability of event B and event A is 0.4 divided by the probability of event A. So 0.4 divided by 0.7 will equal to 0.5714, which is 57.14%. Now, I love these events. It's mutually exclusive or independent events because they simplify what we need to do. For this event, you just need to multiply the probability of event A times the probability of event B, and you get your answer. Okay, that's basically all for probability rules. I hope you learned something today, and thank you for listening. I hope you learned something. Have a very good day.